Good morning. That's good stuff, isn't it? It's a good way to start this morning, man. I tell you, I've had the good fortune of seeing that video a time or two, and I still get chill bumps every time I look at it. I want to tell you, every time I get up here and get very intimidated, especially when you see the chairman of the Delta Regional Authority walk in the back door as you begin, you get intimidated. Hello, Chairman Massengill. But let me tell you, when I do this, I tell myself one thing, and you may have seen me aloofly pacing outside, but I tell myself, and I say a little prayer, I say, let me say one thing, just one thing that impacts one person's life, just one person. And if I can do that, this morning, then I'll consider it a job well done for myself. So it's my prayer that I hope at least one of you find value in something that I could say. And it's with that I'm humbled to be here and be able to address my family, my R-Care and Kentucky Care family. I see some of y'all already tearing up after that video. That video to me is a snapshot of where we've been, how far we've come, what we've been built on, what we hold dear. And what an honor it is to be with all of you today. And although this was required attendance, I think, I really do want to thank you for taking time away from your respective families on a Saturday to be here to help us celebrate our 30th anniversary. 30 years, that's a long time. Let's do this. If you are under the age of 30, would you please stand up? As you can see, a lot can happen in 30 years. Like the birth and upbringing of all those wonderful family members and leaders that we have in this organization. Joey was supposed to tell you to turn off your phones before we got here. And in doing so, if you'll hold that little thing up, just think about this little thing right here. There's nothing like technology to put time in perspective. That little thing that you're holding up right there that you've just pulled out of your pocket. Just think there is more power and more magic, and this little thing can do a lot more things than some of the most sophisticated NASA computers could do 30 years ago. Isn't that crazy? And as you all know, no reflection on past 3 decades is really complete without hypothesizing or looking into the future about what the next 30 years may hold. I mean, over the course of 30 years, we can fit NASA-like computers into our very pockets. So think about how old and antiquated and clunky these bad boys will be in 2046. We'll probably all be sitting around thinking, can you believe you used to have to carry those dadgum things around? You had to hold them up to your ear to talk? We thought we were on the cutting edge back in 2016, didn't we? Who knows? Who knows what the future holds for each of us. We hope that we'll be around in 30 years. Some of us won't. It's kind of a difficult concept to contemplate, isn't it? We're not guaranteed 30 years. We're not guaranteed 30 seconds. I have labored for the last 3 days over whether or not I'm going to do this. But I think that I am. 30 years, and the theme of what I'm going to talk to you about very briefly is legacy, and the type of legacy that has been built, and the type of legacy that this company and its people will leave. In the next 30 years, and staying true to the legacy that is so important to us. So at this point, I'm going to introduce you to someone, many of you don't, or many of you do, that has learned a lot about legacy. Past couple months. If you would, introduce yourself, tell us where you work.
Hi everybody, my name is Deborah Pearson, and I am a AMS educator at Augusta.
Can you tell us a little bit briefly about 2016, the year has been for?
2016 has been a roller coaster.
Why so?
April 2nd, 2016, my 19-year-old daughter passed away in River Cross.
I know obviously that was challenging for you. We visited about this a little bit, and are you sure you're good to do this? Okay. There's value in this, because some of the things that she shared with me are very profound. I think you all need to hear them. You mentioned yesterday that that very tragic event has given you clarity. Can you tell me a little bit about what type of clarity you're talking about?
Losing Trinity really opened my eyes for me to focus on the things in life that are true.
Like what?
Genuinely caring for people.
What?
Keep doing, Deborah. It's okay, honey. No, Deborah.
She wanted to do this, by the way. This is part of her healing process. What are the two greatest accomplishments in your life that we talked about yesterday?
I told you the two greatest accomplishments in my life thus far. The first being raising my daughter to be a passionate, compassionate young lady who woke up every morning thinking, what can I do to make one person's life better?
How old was
She was 19 years old. She was doing college physical teacher. She was employed by Collier. She worked at the education center. And every waking hour, if she could be there, she was there. My second greatest accomplishment, I think, is my employment here with Collier. May, I'll be here 10 years. And I'm extremely proud of my employment at Collier because my daughter was raised seeing my passion for this company. And I know that made a difference in the values I instilled in her.
Thank you so much.
So we're not guaranteed 30 years. So the question becomes, what will your legacy be? When you're gone and those of us come together to reflect on your last 30 years, what will your story be? Will it be one of service, like Trinity was able to create in just 19 short years? Will it be one of passion? Will it be one of compassion? Will it be a story that inspires those that come after you, your own children, your students, your patients? What will your legacy be? Are you living every single day in alignment with what you want your legacy to be? These are the type of questions that I want you as family members to be asking yourselves every morning when you wake up and every night when your head hits that pillow. Are you doing your part to craft a better world? And I contend that there is no greater purpose in life than to leave a legacy that you can be proud of. And so that word, legacy, is really what we're all here today to celebrate. To pat ourselves on the back for being part of our Care's legacy over the past 30 years, and more importantly, to focus on how we can continue to write the new chapters of this story. There is one thing that I want us all to keep in mind as we embark on the next 30 years. And those of you from Kentucky have had the good fortune or very bad fortune, depending upon your perspective, to have to listen to me say this. But it's one thing I want you to keep in mind. It's something that I think that if you keep in mind, it will continue to make you better individuals and ensure that we as an organization leave the type of legacy that we can be proud of. It's real simple. Are you ready? I want each of you to be very intentional to make an effort every single day to bring joy to those that you serve. Simple. Like our video said, you get the chance every morning, every single morning, to wake up and make a difference, and what a blessing it is to be able to do that. Not everyone has the opportunity to say that they can impact someone's life in the very direct way that you and I can. Remember this, when you roll out of bed on a random Monday morning, not wanting to get your day started, you remember that you have been placed in your field in this organization for a reason. Because you are drawn to it. That's the type of people that we are. You are drawn to make a difference. Remind yourself every morning when you wake up, whether you're in the front office or you're the treating physician on the back end, remember that to the person that you are serving at that time, at that moment, they may be facing the single most important problem in their lives. Maybe it's a young mother that does not understand why her infant won't stop screaming. And believe me, I've been there. Not the mother part, but the screaming infant part. She's terrified. That is when we shine the brightest. That's your moment, man. Own it. Maybe it's an elderly lady that doesn't understand why she's unexplainedly losing a bunch of weight. She's scared. And you get the chance to bring joy to her life in that moment. Seize that opportunity with everything that you have in you, with every fiber in your being. And that's how you build a legacy. Main purpose I'm here today is to introduce someone. And speaking of legacy, let me tell you about the legacy of a person that I'm proud to introduce to you this morning. Depending upon how you define legacy, I could tell you about all of this person's accomplishments, awards, accolades, recognitions, and fellowships. But I wasn't raised like that. I wasn't raised to define legacy by those things. I want to tell you how I formed my definition of legacy. And I came to it from watching this person live it. I learned about building a legacy by moments like the time riding in the back seat of my father's car on a secluded, dark county highway in 1987. That makes me 7 years old at that time. We were coming home from a high school football game that had been called in the third quarter due to very severe thunderstorms in the area. I'll never forget one of those evenings where the lightning is cracking all around you. As we drove home from Brinkley back to Augusta, the thunder was immediate and it was ferocious. You know, those type of thunders that just rumble right through you. It was one of those nights. And the next thing I remember is the screeching of brakes, a very loud collision, and gravel and rock peppering our windshield. I covered my eyes, really wondering if this is what it's like to be in a car accident. But no, we were safe. But the lone truck in front of us on this very dark highway that evening was not. It had left the 2-lane highway, crashed through an embankment, and gone down into the bar ditches that are so common on rural Arkansas, Kentucky highways. The tail end of the truck was still up on the embankment, but the front end was down in the bar ditch. I'll never forget Dad pulling over. My heart is just jumping out of my chest at this time. And I thought, what in the world is he going to do about this, you know? He climbed onto the side of that truck, the bed, and sort of shimmied, mental image there, shimmied down this truck, you know, like a fireman shimmies down a pole. Got down to the cab of the truck. One of the occupants of this vehicle was a young lady that looked to be in the latter stages of pregnancy. And in fact, she was. She was going into labor in this bar ditch. And after some time, Dad, along with a few other folks that had at this point arrived, carried this young mother out of the ditch, got her into the ambulance. I'm watching all this at age 7. The mother went on to have a little beautiful baby girl that evening. She was a little bit premature. But by the grace of God, everything worked out okay. A few years later, I was snooping around in Dad's desk drawer, as any mischievous 13-year-old is forbidden but always does. Right there in the front of his primary drawer on his desk was a picture of that little girl, her kindergarten picture, that was born on that night. One of his most proudest accomplishments as a physician was commemorated and embodied in this little picture of this little girl that just completed kindergarten. See, that's what legacies are made of. I learned about what legacies are by being a small child tucked into bed in Augusta, Arkansas, late at night, only to be awoken by frantic knocks on our front door. Open the door, there's a mother sobbing in desperation as she holds her newborn that is running such a high fever that it's slipping in and out of consciousness. By watching Dad throw on some clothes, grab the baby, rush to the clinic, and then follow the ambulance to the hospital so that he can be with the family. That's what legacies are made of. In conclusion, I hope that you see our care's legacy and that of Dr. Collier is one that is built out of a passion for service. And folks, it is real, and it is genuine, and it is as serious as you can possibly imagine. His dedication to this mission that we all hear so often, the least, the last, and the lost, health care for all, is what gets him out of bed every day and compels him to do his work, God's work. I have watched him remain steadfast in his calling to serve those that need him most, often in the face of great challenges and often requiring a great deal of sacrifice. But he perseveres nonetheless because he is committed to changing this world, to serving those that need him most, and to leaving a legacy that we can all be proud to be a part of. So, thank you, Dad, for being committed to changing people's lives and leaving a legacy for us to follow. And it is with that it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you my father, your CEO, Dr. Stephen Collier. Thank you very much.